Kempo principles. Contouring. Contouring strikes are similar to just what it sounds like. When we do a contouring strike, we are form-fitting any of the tools that we use to strike, hand, sword, or chop, punch, knee, elbow, kick, along to the body part that we are striking. One of my favorites is a contouring strike here, done as a forward thrusting chop with our palm facing up, coming into the neck. However, on this particular strike, when we hit here, I'm going to contour the back of my hand right next to the palm, all the way up to my pinky finger, inside of the mastoid process right there. Most notably in a couple of the orange belt Kempo techniques, one of them being parting wings and another one being thrusting salute. When I land the strike in thrusting salute, it is done as this forward thrusting chop. Different than a hand sword or a hand chop coming in at the horizontal angle. This one pushes up from my hip to do the strike here. When I do that, I am essentially cupping the underside, hitting into the jaw, all of that jaw line, and making sure that the pinky gets right inside that mastoid process. If you're unfamiliar with the mastoid process, I highly suggest that you research it. It can be devastating to strike it. This is just one of the techniques that we use this particular principle in. As I just mentioned, parting wings. Now, parting wings is a defense that we've gone over on this channel before. It is a two-handed push coming up high. In parting wings, I take my hands directly up here and separate them out. So, as the push comes in, I come up in between, kind of like I'm doing praying hands, and I separate his hands out. I immediately take my right palm and I strike into the ribs as I take my left here, covering up high. I do this as a chamber for a back knuckle. So these two are going to switch. This one's going to chamber here, and this one is going to back knuckle. Now what I'm going to do from there, after I've done my contouring strike on the ribs, is I'm going to shift back in and punch downward on those very ribs. If possible, stacking them on top of each other. So I want to hit fairly high, just below the pec, and at a downward angle to be able to attempt to break the first one. If I can break the first one and have it going downward, it makes it much easier to stack them all on top of each other, breaking that entire side, which, if you ever had a broken rib, you'd know is extremely painful. It's hard to do anything, including walk, if you have a broken ribs, much less the whole side caved in. So, as that separating push comes, I do my contouring strike here on the ribs. Now, I am hitting him there, and I like to go for the bottom there in the floating rib, just because it's smaller and can typically be struck in and almost outward to be able to give you a snap on it. However, this is my contouring strike, as my hand is form-fitting directly onto his ribs. That is to say, I'm not just hitting directly into it like the final punch where I go downward. I can do a contouring strike anywhere on the body. All I am doing is form-fitting the weapon that I am using, the tool that I am using, to be able to strike him. So I might take a chop to the neck, but instead of doing a straight chop, I might form fit it and do that tweaking maneuver we've gone over before to cover his entire throat. Contouring strikes can be done anywhere, and they are highly, highly effective. I'm Instructor Thompson, my Self-Defense Studio.